Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on changing a character into a different species. Now, there's a lot of different reasons why you would want to do this. In Celebration of Shark Week is one very good example, which is kind of the prompt for doing this tutorial. But you could be changing the character into a different species altogether, or you could just be for one drawing, changing it around and having some fun. But no matter what, you still want to keep the character looking like the character that you made. Obviously, I mean, everybody wants the character that they have. So, what I'm going to be showing is how you go about doing that. So, for my guinea pig character here today is Win, a character who I actually bought from Vanya on DeviantArt, and I think like W22378, I don't remember what, I'm sorry, on Fur Affinity. But the character has a lot of details, and I feel as though it'd be a very good character in order to transfer over. So, here we are. And specifically, I'm going to be changing the character over into a shark because, you know, Shark Week. Why not? You know, why not? The first thing you want to do is to actually recognize what parts of the character are unique to the character and things that should be kept. So, if I just go through this character a little bit and point out some stuff that are going to be making the transition. A wide snout is one that's very good to point out. The eyebrows are these circles on top. The hair is always a very good indicator of the character. So the hair kind of sweeps over to the side, drops down, and then this side is kind of dropped down like that. So it has just that general shape to it. So we're going to keep something to that degree. She has lots of piercings, so the metal rod going through her ear here, 2 piercings here, and even a gauge on each side. I believe those are called gauges. I'm not exactly certain. Her tail is incredibly short, but for we're going to be turning into a shark, so we'll just kind of keep the shark tail shorter than normal, but unfortunately I can't really keep it just the little fluff butt that it is now. And of course her pattern. So the colors we're going to be transferring over directly, but we have to keep in mind that it has that line gradation going down, these chevrons on both arms, fingers are different colors from the rest of her hand, and then these more extended chevrons down onto her legs. So as long as we keep those basic ideas the same, we should have a character that in the end will look very similar to how we started. Let's start by quick putting down a sketch of the character. I'll be with you right back since this step isn't going to be too terribly important. See you real soon. Alright, and welcome back. So, I threw in the sketch here. I'm giving a bit more of an action-y pose because, I don't know, I'm not making a reference, so there's no reason to keep a more reference-y static pose, so I'm having a bit of fun with it. Now, as a quick note, the way I do sharks is I give them ears, and I do other like little things to them just because I feel as though they should be adorable, like they should be cute. And honestly, you're already making a shark walk on 2 legs. You can add ears, it's perfectly fine. So, what we're going to do is we're actually going to start off with the head here. I'm going to drop the opacity just a little bit so that the additions I make are easier to see. So, I start off with the ears. I'm going to have them a little bit pointed backwards and rather pointed, so it actually works very well for this character. Make it a little bit thinner and then bring it up like that. Now, what this character also has is it has this kind of cup shape to the ears themselves, so if I want to keep the character more consistent, I can keep that as well. So I can have it doing this instead of the way I normally would draw shark ears, where that's just a single fold. Now I also have the space to add a gauge in as well. So I would also put in the piercing straight through on this side. And you have one of the ears. Now if I were to add in the other ear, it'd be much the same situation, although you wouldn't see the gauge, but you would probably see the 2 piercings along the top. Now if I go down to the face, I'm actually gonna, no, I should zoom in because, I don't know, bring this up here. Look at that, fix my own problem. Yeah. So if we go to the face, now I want to keep it to a shark standard. So The eyes are going to be moved slightly off to the side, more so than I'm used to. But the snout, bring it out, make it still keep it wide as per the character's design. But it'll slope down. Keep that more of a point to it. There we go. There. So that will be much more shark-like. No, none of that. That's not on this character, or that's not on the way the sharks work, and they don't have a nose, so I don't have to do anything with that. Indicate just a little bit of the mouth, and I'll add the shark teeth in later. So there you go, we have the snout in all of its glory. I will have to change around the mouth just a little bit because I angled the way that the snout looks, so I'm gonna have to represent that in the snout as well, on the shark. And of course sharks have pointed jaws. So there you go. I'm gonna stop fiddling with that. Bring this up a little bit. I'm just gonna stop fiddling with that. Erase that. I'm gonna stop fiddling with that. Look, I can mess with this stuff for days. So after we have that down, the eyes, the next thing to go in. The eyes on these characters are generally unchanged, so there's really nothing to say much here. Just throw in the eye. Gonna have them looking that direction. Now the eyebrow, though, as we shown before, was pretty much just a circle. So put that in. Show the other one. And of course I'm using a very, very vague tool for this because these are the more sketchy steps of it. So it's perfectly fine to use rather vague tools instead of hard lines. Put the other eye in. Put in the iris, a pupil. Now we put in the hair. So as I said before, it kind of swept over to the side and then down. So if we're going to keep that same style going, we can have, say, right here be where the separation is. And then we can show that this side is going down and it gets rather spiky and hectic and lots of hair strands sticking out in odd places. So we can keep that style going. And then for the other side, it swoops over, and if we do the top, it'll pretty much cover up the other eye, so we're safe in erasing that side, just so that we can keep the sketch looking a little bit nicer, so when we go in and color it, we can keep it looking the same. Add a little bit of height to the top of it, again, giving us the ability to erase things, and then put the spikes into the back. And then the back is pretty much the same thing, continue downwards. So now you have the hair in. So when we go into color this, it'll be a lot easier to tell, but you can kind of get the idea that this is the same thing. And that's really what our goal is. So as we move down, you notice that this character has this huge fluffy neck, which I can't add in because sharks don't have fur. So what we're instead going to do is just indicate where the pit of the neck is and kind of continue down and around. So as we add in this, the rest of this character actually isn't a whole lot different in terms of body structure, or at least when it comes down to this thing. So I can just like throw in, save this and yada yada, and it's all going to be pretty much stuff I had covered before that really doesn't need to be said right now. So I'm going to skip ahead here to where I get to the line art stage, if there's anything to say there, or straight to the coloring if that's relevant. Really, a large portion of this is just going to be spent changing the character around and adapting it into the different style. But once you have the head down, the rest is just kind of keeping in mind the anatomy of how they work. So I'll see you real quick. And welcome back. So you can see what I'd done was I just did all the line work and I put this white over the character just so that it's easier for me to color things in now instead of the white on white that was before. I also made the tail small to help reflect the smaller tail here, and that's pretty much about it. I made sure I had room for the gauge and at least one piercing on the back side. I gave her 3 fingers and 3 toes because I just kind of felt like it. Also, one more note that I didn't make before, and it's actually not seen in the part of the reference that I took here, but the character actually has very thick black nails, so I made sure that I gave her claws on all her fingers and toes, and I'm going to be sure to make them black when I get to that. So, if we go one layer up, just to make this easier, I'm going to start off by doing the skin tone, just because I think that'll cover, that'll cover more. So if we take a look at this, the arms are pretty much going to be solid green, and I'll refine this in a moment, just once I know where things are going to be. So both the arms. The sides of the body is going to be green as well, so go down the sides of the body. You won't see that side. And then her legs are pretty much completely green, save for the middle part. So to make this easier, I'm just going to make her legs entirely green. Also, her tail on the top is green as well. Now this will fold backwards, but we can just paint it all green for now, just to make that simpler for us now. And then her ears are also green, along with the top of her head. Top of her head? Yeah, I think that counts as top of her head for that terminology. So we have the green down, now let's do the lighter green, or yellowish color. For these, it'll be, for the most part, just things that wasn't covered before. We'll refine stuff along the edge of the arms and things like that. So, nearly to her knees, actually, on the inside. So since this is going to be on the outside, we won't see a whole lot of that. But over here, we will. So be sure to color appropriately on the character. And then the underside of the snout. Now I'm keeping this very, very rough right now because this character has a lot of little refinement going through. Let's throw in the bottom of the tail as well. Just in a way so that we can keep track of what needs to be what. Have that flip to the underside right about there. And then jump back. I don't quite know what I'm going to do for the fins yet. I believe I'm going to probably keep this lighter color on the back of the fins, like right about here, and keep the darker color in the front. We'll see how that looks in a moment. So we have all the rough color thrown in for the main body. Let's take a look at the hair, which honestly is going to be really quite simple. It's the hair. So again, blocking stuff in now, just so that I can refine it in a little bit. And plus it's on different layers, so that actually makes this a lot easier for us. Now right now we're still just trying to make sure we capture the character correctly. So her fingertips, or yeah, just her fingers, are also this orange color. Now to keep this more fun with the fact that we're changing around the character species in its entirety, and especially since sharks, you see their feet more often, I'm actually going to be making her toes this same color as well. So it's okay to break the character's design just a little bit if you feel as though it adds to the overall change. I mean, come on, you're changing the character completely, so it's a little bit more acceptable to change a character's design slightly. So I think that'll make this a bit more fun, plus it puts a little bit more orange onto the character. So we also have the chevrons, which we're going to have to go through and refine later, but for now we'll just put in a couple of downwards arrows onto both of her arms, just so that we know that they're there. And then the larger chevron here, the one that kind of drips down, again, blocking stuff in. We don't quite see it on the other leg, but we have these two chevrons, which do show up very well. And we don't see them on the other side because they're on the back side, but pretty much they would be here, but on the back side of the arm. Now, to help keep the character in its design, I'm going to be adding chevrons to the tail as well, just two going down, because I feel as though that will add to the character design a little bit, and one stripe going on the fins. And I will refine that later on. But I like to define these things now because this tail is a huge addition to the character design. So you have to make sure that you know what you're going to be doing to the character. Now, when we get to the other bits, so I don't like how the reference is done for the ears. Like, not just this page, but the actual colors themselves. But that's getting me nitpicky about references, and I get super nitpicky with references, so but pretty much the way the ears work is it's blue at the base, and then they transition to green along the top. The mouth does the same thing. I don't think I'm going to be adding that element anywhere else for the character, where while it would be on the pads of the hands, I don't have any of them visible here. I added this down here, but I already changed the feet around enough. I don't want to continue doing that. So unfortunately, that's kind of going to stay just about there, which is perfectly fine. So I'm going to take one moment and actually refine the colors here, but you can see where I'm getting at, wherein that already, you can pretty much tell that that's the same character just as a shark instead of before where it was just kind of a canine. So we're getting the point across. Oh wait, I almost forgot something. Every time I almost forget this with this character. She actually has the orange up here and it fades back. So if I put that down, and I'm just going to grab a random brush tool I have and fade that back a little bit. I'll refine that in later, but that is something that needs to be addressed because I don't know why, but that's just one tiny feature of this character I tend to forget a lot, and I don't want to do that here. So I'm going to go through and refine all the colors. I'll see you real quick. If I have anything I need to point out, I'll be sure to stop it and show you. See you soon. And welcome back. So I kind of refined all the coloring stages and I added in all the little details that I had before. So her claws are now black. The fins are now shaded. The fins are now put in properly. And her eye color is there. I decided to use the blue for the inner part of the eye, the caruncle I believe it's called, whatever. Because I figured that would work a bit better. Instead of blending in the front, I kept it with the more stripes transition to match the arms a little bit better, and I also did the same down here for the toe bits just to help those out. But yeah, that's how you move a character from one species into another. Notice that the nose is dropped because obviously sharks don't really have noses. Other little things you can do here is you can help refine what species it is by the shading. So obviously sharks are very they don't have fur, so they're going to have highlights for pretty much all the parts facing the light source. So if I imagine a light source open to this corner, then you can kind of just, throw in stuff that'll work for that light source. I'm pretty certain you know how that will work by this point, or at least I would hope so. And of course the hair, because the hair really needs them. And the eye will just look really nice. Actually, we need to bring that up to a different layer because the line work is on that layer. So if we put that on a different one and throw it on top, there you go, that looks a little bit better. So as I go through and I add in the highlights, other things that you can actually use the lessons here for are actually just moving the character into any species. If this character had started as a shark and got moved over into a canine as before, the system wouldn't have changed at all. It would pretty much just be identify what's the same and make sure stuff works in the new system. So obviously with this one, I would probably have a tough time remaking the tail in the same style because there's really no comparison. But the finger designs the way they are, the really thick black nails, both of those would be transferred over. The way the hairstyle is done, the piercings in the eye, the piercings and the eyes, not the piercings in the eyes. Oh no, that sounds like no fun. So the system would pretty much be the same, and you can use this system to move any character from one species into another. Just keep in mind that most of the time when you're moving a species over, you're just having fun with it. You're not making a new reference, you're not completely redesigning the character. So feel free to change around the design just a little bit so that it'll work better. because these feet would be super, super boring if I didn't add this in. And I feel as though that would have hurt the character's design just a little bit. So I feel as though that was a very justified change. I'm gonna lower the opacity on that just a little bit so it's not so glaringly bright. And of course you have the character in all of its sharky glory. So I can throw in a little bit of a backsplash onto it just so that it feels a little bit better. So I'm going to take my brush tool and I'm just going to throw in some blue color just because I feel as though that will help. If not help, at the very least it'll make this look a little bit more interesting. And that's all we really have to do here, isn't it? So with that, I'll thank you all for watching the video. I hope you learned a lot, and I hope you actually use the lessons you learned here today. Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a shark. That's just what I did for today's video due to Shark Week, and I love Shark Week because it's super fun and it's an excuse to draw everyone as sharks. Always a good excuse. So, thank you all for watching. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please leave me a comment down below or send me a note. I have my email on the end of all these videos. If you liked what you've seen here, thank you. If you end up using what you've seen here, show me. I love seeing the work that other people do using lessons I've taught. Thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.